Hi everybody! So today I'm going to show you to make this little hamster, and this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to be making mine exactly like this one. So if you want to just change the color, add whatever you'd like, randomly just pick different colors and bring it through the body. You don't need to do slip stitches when you're randomly just adding a different color, just keep crocheting. Now I'm going to be showing you how to make one exactly like this one, and if you wanted to add a bow, maybe even some little eyelashes, you can just grab the little band that's above the eye. And then just cut. So just do a little slip knot and then cut. These are the supplies that I'm going to be using. I'm using caramel brown, glow-in-the-dark white, pearl pink, 2 4mm black beads for the eyes. If you don't have the beads, use rubber bands. You can wrap it around your hook 4 times or use a safety eye. So I'm going to get started, and I do hope you enjoy. The first thing that we're going to do is make the ears, and I'm going to show you to do one, and then you're going to pause the video and make yourself another. So I'm going to start off with the caramel brown, and I'm going to do 5 single crochets in the magic ring, and we're going to do a half a circle. So I'm going to take my first band, and I'm going to wrap it around the bottom peg, but I'm going to wrap it around 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're going to pull 5 bands through one at a time. You don't really need a stitch marker. So I'm just going to reach in, bring my first band through, the other end on my hook, and bring your top loop over the bottom and bring it to the side. Go back in, bring your second band through, put the end on your hook and bring your top 2 loops over. Bring it to the side and continue going back in. And you're just repeating, putting the end on your hook and bringing your top 2 loops over. And again. And one more time. Oops. Now you're going to remove off the loom. And all you're going to do is normally we would fix our bands and go this way, but all we're going to do is just turn it around and we're going to do a reverse stitch. For round 2 of the ear, this is our last round, we're going to add 2 bands to each chain. 2, 2, 2, 2. So at the end of this round, you're going to have 8 stitches. And with our last band, we're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. So you're just going to go in the same chain where your band is coming out of and do 2 single crochets. So we're increasing on each chain. Back in. So you should have 4 chains to work with. The next chain with 2. Back in. I have 2 more chains and 2 more sections. And the last chain. This is my last band, so I'm going to do a slip knot, going in and bringing my band through all the loops that are on my hook and tie it off. Now I'm going to add 2 sewing bands. So one, you're going to go through the middle. So this is your magic circle. You're going to go through, right through the center, bring a band through and do a slip knot. Don't pull too hard, but you want to make sure it's secure. And our last, we're not going to go through this part. We're going to go through this tiny little loop right at the edge so it's even with this one. And do a slip knot. Give it a tug. And you'll just fix it so the curl will be facing the front. Now I'm going to do the top part of the head, and we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 stitches. So I'm going to use the bottom part of my loom, and I'm going to take my first band and wrap it around 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And now just pulling 6 bands through one at a time. Reaching in and grabbing your first to bring through and starting the magic ring. Top loop over, back in, 2 loops over, and make sure you're bringing your bands to the side and just continue. You want to attach your stitch marker to this band. We're going to need another stitch marker. You want to attach the stitch marker to the loop that's around your hook. I lost mine. And remove off the loom. Move your bands around and you should have 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is on your hook. For round 2, we're going to increase to 12 stitches. So you're just going to add 2 bands to each chain around. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So you have 12 stitches when you're done. You're just doing an increase on each chain until you get to your stitch marker. So 1 band at a time. Back in that same chain. And now moving on to the next chain, 2 bands. And continue until you get to the stitch marker. You have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, I'm going to do 12 single crochets, so adding 1 band to each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around until you get to your stitch marker. Make sure you start in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and just bring 1 band through each chain until you get to the stitch marker. You have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 4, we're going to increase to 15 stitches. This is the layout, and I've already added my band to the bead. I just pinched it and slid it right through. If you don't have the beads, you can use a rubber band, any color that you'd like, and maybe just wrap it around your band 4 times. So what I'm going to do is 3 single crochets followed by an increase. 3 single crochets followed by an increase, and I'm going to repeat this 3 times. The eyes are going to go on your 5th stitch and your 8th stitch. So this is what the layout will look like, or should look like. I'm going to do the first row here. I'm going to do 3 single crochets, and on my 4th chain, I'm going to add my band and then the eye. So let's go on our first 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3 with a single band. Oops. Sorry, first chain. Now on my fourth chain, I'm going to do my increase. So first is just that single band here, and then back in to add the eye. Now my second row, I'm going to do 3 single crochets, third one with the eye, and now my increase, back in, and you're going to repeat one more time. Stitch marker, back in, should have 15 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band around your hook. For round 5, I'm going to do 4 single crochets followed by an increase. 4 single crochets followed by an increase, and I'm going to repeat this 3 times. At the end of round 5, you're going to have 18 stitches. Now I'm going to add 1 white band, so I'm changing the color, and that will be that stitch right here. That will be on chain 7, or your 7th stitch. So this is what the layout will look like. I'm going to do the first row, 4 single crochets, not where it's getting pulled. I'm going to start in my first chain and adding 1 band to the first 4 chains. Now my 5th stitch, I'm doing my increase, adding 2 bands. Back in. If you're using the beads, that stitch will be a tiny stitch. You want to make sure you use it. And I'm at the center of the eyes, and this is where I'm changing to the white band. So when I'm changing, I am going to do a slip stitch. So I'm going to bring it through all of the loops, grab the end, and slide. Now my next stitch, I'm going to do I have 3 more single crochets here. I want to start off with my brown here, and I am going to do a slip stitch to change the color again. And I'm going to continue following the pattern. And one more time until I get to the stitch marker. So this is what it should look like. You should have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 6, I'm going to do 18 single crochets. So I have 6, 12, and 18. So just adding 1 band to each chain around. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. When you do get to your little slip knots, the white, you've only added 1 band, so you want to make sure you don't go in your little slip knot, you want to go in your chain. And the same thing with the brown. Go in your chain and not your slip knot. So you should have 18 stitches. I'm going to be changing to white on chain 6 and 7. You want to make sure that you do a slip stitch when you're changing to the white, and then when you're changing back to the brown, or whatever color you're using. So let's do our first row. 1 band in each chain. Oops. I'm going to pick up my stitches. So now I'm going to change to white, slip stitch, don't go in your little slip knot here, go in your chain because you only used one white band, so you should only have one white chain to use. And the second row. The brown, you did a slip stitch, so don't go in your little slip knot, go in your chain and bring it through. I'm sorry, bring it through all the loops and continue until you get to the stitch marker. Should still have 18 stitches, and remove your stitch marker and add it to the band around your hook. For round 7, we're going to do 18 single crochets again, just adding one band to each chain, one, all the way around. Again, be very careful that you don't go in your slip knots. You should have one on the white and one on the brown. I'm going to be changing to white now on chains 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I have 18 bands here in total. So going in the first chain and adding one band. So you could just follow the layout until you get to the stitch marker. Making sure you do slip stitches when you're changing the color. I reached the white here, so I'm not going in my slip knot. Changing color. Should have 18 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. For round 18, we're going to do 18 single crochets again, adding one band to each chain, one, all the way around. Again, be very careful not to go in your little slip knots. And we are going to be adding white, or changing the color, on chains 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So when you change to the different colors, make sure you do a slip stitch. So I'm going to go in my first chain. You have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now for round 9, I'm going to use all white. This is where I'm going to start, and it's going to be just using the white. So whatever color that you're using for the body. And I'm going to decrease to 15 stitches. So in order to do that, I'm going to do 3 single crochets, and then I'm going to stitch 3 stitches together using 3 bands, which will be the invisible decrease method. And I'll go slow right there. Then you're going to add 1 band in the last 12 chains until you get to your stitch marker. So you'll be doing 12 single crochets. So let's do the first part, 3 single crochets. My first chain. I'm going to bring my first band through all the loops. Now going to my next chain, not the slip knot. And my third. Let's just move this up. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch in the next 3 chains and leave it on my hook. So I'm going to go in, do a slip stitch, and leave it. The next stitch, slip stitch, leave it, and 1 more. So you have 4 loops. Now just slide. Now your next chain, 1 band, and then all the way until you get to the stitch marker. Oops. I'm getting to the brown here where I changed the color before, and don't go on your little slip knot. So now you have 15 stitches, and remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 10, I'm going to decrease to 15 stitches, and I'm using the white. And what I'm going to do is 14 single crochets and stitch 15 and 16 together. So I have 5, 10, and 14, 1 band in the first 14 chains. And then your last 2 chains I'm going to stitch together. So we're going to go in our first chain, not where your band is coming out of, not your little slip knot, but your first chain. And go ahead and add 14 single crochets. So I have 2 chains left, and you're going to stitch those together. So go through your next chain, bring your hook back to the center, and go and grab your last chain. So with your last band, you're going to bring it through both of those chains, grab your end, and slide. So you should have 15 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the ears on. So I need you to secure your band by using your stitch marker and just clip onto the next stitch there, that same stitch where your band is coming out of, just so it doesn't fall apart. Now to add on the ears, I'm going to be using a band to secure both of the ears. So just, you're going to need 2 little bands here, and I'm going to use the brown, the same color as the top. I'm going to do both of the ears with you, and I'm going to do this side first. So you're going to fold it in half, putting your ends together here. You have 3 sewing bands, so you're going to need 3 chains on the head. For this side of the ear, I'm going to be grabbing, here's your magic circle, I'm going to be grabbing the next chain over. So here's your magic circle, you'll have a hole, and I'll be bringing my first band through the next chain right beside, and you're going to grab the next chain for your next sewing band, and then the next one at the bottom here. So you want your curl to be facing the head, and I'm going to go through the chain, bring my sewing band through, you can release, the next chain, sewing band through, and the next chain. Now before you attach, lift it up and make sure that the placement is good. So all you're going to do is grab your chains and just crochet. Now we need to secure this, so I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to grab the middle sewing band at the bottom of the ear here. So in the center, and secure it by bringing the band through all of the chains and do a slip knot. Now we're going to repeat on the other side, so make sure that the face is flat. But this time for this ear, we're going to be going through the magic ring. So the curl is facing the front of the head, and I'm going to be going through the magic ring for my first stitch, the next stitch, and the next stitch. So you want to make sure that you're even on both ends when you're done. I'm going to bring it through the next chain and the next chain. So before you attach, make sure that your ends are even. You can grab your sewing bands, go to the back, and you're grabbing that middle sewing band to secure it. And they will eventually fall into place. We're going to fix it at the end by just squeezing. And now you're going to fix the eyes. So if you're using the beads or the bands, turn it around and bring it through that little V that you have inside, and the next one. And go through, and you're going to go right beside your slip knot and just bring it inside, just to hide it. For 11 and 12, you're going to do 15 single crochets, just adding 1 band to each chain around. I'm going to do round 11 with you, and then you're going to pause round 12 and come back to me when you're done. You want to unsecure, take your stitch marker off and put your band back on your hook. And you want to make sure that you start in your first chain. So when I was practicing, I kept going in where the band is coming out of because it looks like an actual chain, but that's where we stitch together. So make sure where you're going and bring your band through. So you're just adding one band to each chain until you get to your stitch marker. Each pile I had 15 bands. Remove your stitch marker, add it to the band that's around your hook, and you can do round 12, 15 single crochets, and come back to me when you're done. For round 13, I'm going to increase to 18 stitches now. So I'm going to do 4 single crochets followed by an increase. 4 single crochets followed by an increase. And you're going to repeat this 3 times. At the end of round 13, you're going to have 18 stitches. So on every 5th chain, you're just adding 2 bands. So you need to remove this stitch marker, make sure it's around your hook, and you want to start off with 4 single crochets. Now my increase. And continue. You're going to continue this until you get to the stitch marker. You should have 18 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. Now I have rounds 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 here. I'm going to do 18 single crochets. So each pile I have 18 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 18 stitches. For round 18 I am changing to the brown color. So wherever you would like to change the color, you can randomly do that throughout, and you don't have to do slip stitches. So when I changed the color in here throughout, I didn't do any of the slip stitches. I just kind of just crocheted, kept on going. So that's up to you. So I'm going to do part of round 14 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Now, when I did change here, I am going to do a slip stitch, just because I want an even round, because I'm not randomly just adding bands. I want an even round, so I'm going to change to a slip stitch, or add a slip stitch right here when I change. So you want to start not where it's getting pulled, and you're just adding one band until you get to the stitch marker. Now you could leave your stitch markers on, like I like to recommend, so you make sure that you do 4 rounds of white. Or if you have them nice and organized, it's really not necessary. So you're just going to continue until you get to the stitch marker. So just keep going. You can pause the video and come back to me when you're done. For round 19, I'm going to decrease this round, and I'm going to decrease it to 12 stitches. So the pattern's going to be 1 single crochet followed by a decrease. So you're going to stitch 2 and 3 together, 1 single crochet, 2 and 3 together, and you're going to repeat this 6 times. So I'm going to go in my first stitch, not my little slip knot, and bring my one band through and do a single crochet. Now take chains 2 and 3 and stitch together. Repeat 1 single crochet, 2 and 3 together. And you're going to repeat this until you get to the stitch marker. So you should have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker, add it to the band that's around your hook, and then we're going to secure our stitch marker. So you can remove your hook. You want to secure it to one of the chains, and we're going to add on these little features. Now we're going to attach the arms. What I'm going to do is whatever body color that you have, I'm going to add 2 bands. I'm going to be making a chain. So 2 bands and then a chain. I'm going to be changing to pink. So I'm using 3 bands. And then I'm going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. Now the placement is up to you, but I'm going to show you where I'm going to go. So here's the nose part. I'm going to go 1 hole, 2 holes, 3 holes, and 4 holes down. So I'm going to be working on this row right here. I'm going to keep 3 chains in the center, so I'm not going to be touching those. So you're going to find 3 even chains. So I'm going to do this side first. I'm going to be using these chains. So I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to be grabbing. So if you fold it in half, kind of like that, I'm going to be making my chain here and then doing my slip knot on my next chain over. So if you'd like just to watch me first, I'm going to keep my 3 chains open. I'm going to use the 2 over here. So right now 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th over. And I'm going to make a chain with 2 white bands. So just to see where I'm going, you might want to just watch first. So I'm making a chain with my 2 white, trying to get nice and even, and then a chain with 3 pink bands. Bring it through on your hook. And now I'm going to grab the chain right beside and do a slip knot. Bringing it through, the chain on the body, these loops of pink, grabbing the end and giving it a tug. And then just fixing that up. So now I have my 3 bands left, and I'm going to use the 2 chains over. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4, and going to the 5th. This is what I'm going to do. But I need to turn this around, upside down, to grab that chain. Make my chain now, and then I'm going to be grabbing the chain in the center here over to do my slip knot. So what will happen is I'm going to have 3 chains left. Grabbing my chain on the body and bringing my band through, grabbing the end and doing a slip knot. Now I'm going to bring my band through the center chains here and giving it a tug. I'm going to go through right beside, grabbing the chain, or sorry, that slip knot band and bringing it through. Now what I'm going to do is take these 2 bands and I'm going to use a white band just to secure it so the stitches are not opened and stretched. So I'm just going to take a white band, or you can use a C-clip to keep those bands inside. Now I'm going to do the legs, and I'm going to do the same thing what I just did, except I'm going to leave 2 stitches in the center. I'm going to be grabbing the white area here, so not where I did the brown part, and I'm going to find 2 center stitches and leave those. So here we left 3, now I'm going to leave 2. So that means I'm going to use these 2 at the side here. So I'm going to go to this one, so I just left kind of 3. Going to make my chain the exact same thing, 2 white bands for the body color and 3 bands for the pink, and I'm going to do a slip knot with a single band. So if I make my chain here, do my slip knot, I'll have 2 bands, 2 chains left. I'm going to grab my chain on the body, do a slip knot, and I'm going to repeat. So I'm leaving 2 chains. I'm going to use these 2 chains. I'm going to have to turn them around to make my chain over here and do my slip knot to the body in the center there to the next chain over. So chain with 2 white, chain with 3 pink, grab my chain on the body and do a slip knot. Bring it through, grab the end, and tie it off. Now you don't need to secure these bands, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to come out the center of the chain. So through these bands, right in the center, making it even and bringing my slip knot through, and on the other side. Coming out, grabbing the slip knot and bringing it through. Now we're going to do the tail. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to find the center in the back. And I'm going to use 2 chains on the white. And I'm going to make a chain with pink using double bands, a chain of 2, and then I'm going to tie it off with a single band. So find the center, you're going to go through 2 chains, you're going to grab them on your hook, do a chain with double bands, and one more time. Tie it off. Secure. Now you're going to hide this slip knot, so you're going to go through the body here and you're going to go through your chains. You're just going to go through the center of the chains go through the other chain and bring your slip knot through. Now we're going to do the nose, and the nose I went kind of on an angle, just how the form of the face went, but I think that it's fine, just like that. I like that. So I'm going to show you where to go. So where your brown meets the white, I'm going to go to the next hole down. So you can see I'm going to grab here, through this hole, and I'm going to skip a hole and go to the next. So I'm going to put my hook through. So you can kind of see where I'm at. And I'm going to bring double pink bands through and secure it with the color of the body. So I'm going to bring it through, grab the end, and secure it. Tying a slip knot, I'm going to turn, I'm going to hide that white band. I can go through, bring it through, and now you're going to release some of the tension on this white band right here. So with your hook, you can just grab onto the knot and kind of just give it a little stretch. And you're going to see that the shape is coming. Now I'm going to add the mouth. So that's up to you however you would like to do it. I'm going to use 2 pink bands, and then we're going to add some stuffing. The more stuffing that you add, the shape will change. So I'm barely going to add, I'm not going to add a lot of stuffing. The difference between these two, it's the exact same pattern, except I have a lot more stuffing in this one. So I'm going to try to aim for this one, for that kind of shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the placement of where I'd like to add the mouth. And I think I'm going to, you're going to have this little gap here. We're going to go right below the little gap. And I think I'm going to go right through here, right below the little gap. It'll close up after. I'm going to bring a band through. Give it a little stretch. I'm going to tie it off with a pink band. And I'm going to hide this pink band in the center of the mouth. So I'm going to go through and go through the center of the band and bring my slip knot through so it ends up being in the center. And release some tension. I'm going to have to hide that again. So now grabbing some stuffing, you want to fill and just push it through. I have way too much stuffing in my hands, and I'm going to pull the excess out at the end. And you're going to have to form the shape of the body and fix with your hands after. Now I don't have any stuffing in here, so I'm going to use my hook just to pull some up. And I'm pushing the eyes down, squeezing the front of the face. Fixing up the ears just to see the shape. And I'm okay, like that. I'm just going to bring some stuffing to the top. Now we're on round 20, it's our last round, and we're going to close this off. So I'm going to put my band back on my hook, so just taking off the stitch marker here and attaching it back. What I'm going to do is close this off by taking stitches 1 and 2 and stitch together. 1 and 2 and stitch together. Repeating all the way until you get to the stitch marker. Your last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. So you'll have no stitches when you're done this round. So 1 and 2. Bring your band through both of those chains on your hook and slide. 1 and 2, stitch together, and continue until you get to the stitch marker. 1 and 2, trying very hard not to grab some of the stuffing, so you can just keep pushing with your hands. And don't forget the slip knot when you're done. And through all the loops, tie it off, remove your stitch marker, and you can hide your slip knot. And you can just bend the ears, fix the face. You could add a little bow if you'd like, but you're done. So I hope you enjoyed Looming with Cheryl. And that's what it looks like.